Hola. Wow. Yeah. Hello, amigos. I'm trying to snap into it, trying to get back into vlogging mode. I was just sitting at my computer for like an hour and a half, so my brain's a little fried right now. But I'm getting back into the wheels. The wheels are turning, letting my vlog power starting to come back in. I just took a shower before that. I went to the gym even before that, and I shaved, so my jawline is looking fresh. But I also was shaving my unibrow, and I like shaved off part of my left eyebrow, so ripped my eyebrow line. Oh well, I'm young, 23. We make mistakes like that. So luckily, I'll be able to grow back my eyebrow. And sometimes that's what you gotta do in life. You gotta make your mistakes when you're young, so that way when you're older you don't make the same type of mistakes. Anyways, lots to catch up on this week. Basically, I've been at Walgreens for a whole 5-6 days. Yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. It's not gonna lie, it's been quite a learning opportunity for me. So it's been pretty dope. I've gained responsibility pretty quickly. You can see the mustache. I probably talked about it in the last vlog as well. But yeah, I feel like I'm learning a lot, and I'm kind of thinking about it in terms of school, right? So it's January 26th right now, and I'm thinking about semesters, right? So like last year, I would have just returned for a winter semester or spring semester, on Wednesday. So it kind of feels like, if I'm still in this college time span, or still thinking in the same type of calendar. I finished my first semester of life, you could say, back in July when I first moved to Boston. That was my fall semester, working as a recruiter and, finding a lease, finding my first job, and doing all of that. And then winter break, I went back to Ohio, spent time with my friends and family, and had a little break, being unemployed. Now I have a job again, and it's January 26th, and technically I'm back home and back with a job again, and I have a whole new set of goals and learning opportunities for this second semester. So and it is that this kind of semester analogy in my life is really apt right now, because my lease in this place ends in July. So literally from this January to July 31st, I'm going to be finishing the lease in this apartment here in Cambridge. So very much so, this does feel like a semester. I'm thinking in terms of a school year right now still, and like this is kind of learning. It doesn't feel like my job at Walgreens is my actual job, really, or my recruitment job really wasn't my actual job either. It felt more like I was just learning. It feels like I'm just experimenting really with life, because my true goals are different from what I'm doing right now. Right now I'm just trying to catch up with everybody else in terms of being street smart rather than book smart, being an adult, being someone who thinks for himself, and someone who can survive on the streets rather than with his head in a book all his life. So it feels like I'm just catching up with everybody else in terms of being a wise person rather than a smart kid. And that's kind of, this year is kind of my education into the world, rather than being a sheltered kind of suburban kid. But anyways, yeah, so this semester, this was spring semester, I plan on doing a lot of stuff. Basically, I have to do a lot. I have a lot of goals, but I have to. I'm going to do a deep dive into programming. That's what my whole kind of shtick is going to be. I don't know if shtick is the right word, but like my whole kind of purpose is, I think in terms of 6-month horizons now. So my whole kind of schedule or flow or purpose right now or goal is going to be to do a 6-month deep dive into programming and hopefully starting my software company. And if you guys didn't know, I moved to Cambridge, to Boston specifically, to start a business and to start a startup, meet with other engineers, meet with Harvard students, MIT students, smart people who can help me find mentors and kind of figure out what I'm really wanting to do in this life, what I really want to make, how I'm going to help others. So it's kind of crazy. This next week I'm going to actually be going to networking events, startup events, and I already went to one last week and it was interesting. I met a whole bunch of people, found out that I was too junior to really find the jobs that startups are looking for. They're looking for more type of advanced programmers who already know what they're doing. They're not trying to really train you. So getting that kind of insider information, that was useful, but also meeting people who are like-minded, that was the biggest thing, who are also looking to join startups or work in startups or work in this type of environment. That's huge. So I have a whole bunch of those lined up this week. I'm going to go to one on Tuesday and Wednesday, and I have a tutoring session that I'm going to be starting with my first client on Thursday, and I'm also going to be meeting with a family friend on Monday. So I have just like a whole bunch of type of things that are starting to come into focus now that I'm really kind of getting back into the groove. My unemployment stint is done, my fall semester is done. I'm really kind of leaning into this 2020, leaning into my time here in Boston. One thing I remembered was that I wanted to come here, I want to start this business, I want to do all this stuff, but then I had to kind of climb Maslow's hierarchy of needs before I can even get to my goals. So I had to find a place to live, I had to find a purpose, I had to find food, I had to find money, I had to find all this stuff. Couldn't afford to like buy a mattress. I couldn't afford to have a table to put my computer on. I didn't have a chair. I had to do all of this stuff. I had to assemble this, buy this, and bring it all into focus. Materialize all this stuff. So when I first got here in July, I was just scrambling to just survive. And so I had this goal of, starting a company and doing all of this stuff. And I felt like, and so I started my job as a recruiter, and I felt like, I was stuck because I was doing this job that I hated, and that was really just so I could live here, and I wanted to live here so I could start this business, but I wasn't doing my business because I was doing this job. But now that I've kind of recovered and I've set everything up and like I've basically paid my dues, now that I've kind of established myself within the city and I am kind of now at a place where I can start working on my goals, I'm starting to feel a lot more grounded, a lot better, and now things are starting to move in my favor. So the ball is starting to roll and the momentum's starting to build, and I do think that I'm going into a positive direction. So this is pretty huge. My deep dive is going to start in February, and yeah, so from February to August, that's going to be my 6-month deep dive into building my business, into programming, and ideally I'll have my business kind of at least the initial kind of groundwork laid out, so that way by the time September, November, October comes around, which is the season for startup competitions, pitch competitions, that's when I'll have kind of the groundwork laid out for my initial business. So I have things already planned out, scheduled for the next kind of 10 months laid out. And so now it's just a matter of executing. So that's a huge thing. So that's where I'm at right now. That's kind of the state of affairs and what the master plan is at the moment. In other news, Kobe Bryant just died. So I found that out like an hour or two ago. So I've been thinking about that for a minute. Rip Kobe. His daughter also passed as well. He died in a helicopter crash, I believe. Damn, you know, it makes me think, you know, sometimes life can go just like that. And in moments like that, you know, Kobe was a legend, Mamba mentality. You know, you have to remember, you know, what they stood for, what they left behind, and most importantly, like why they did what they did. Because when a legend passes, if you kind of remember their will and their motivations and everything, then they still live on in a way through you. Same with Mac Miller, same with people that I respect. I kind of, when they pass, I remember why they did what they did, and that kind of strengthens me, and I kind of inherit some of the will that they had in their life and their legacy, and it kind of lives on. So that's the way I think about that. Rip Kobe, you were a legend. Anyways, on to the topic of today's video. That is about Drake. Yo, so Drake, man, Aubrey. Yo, yeah, Drake, bro, is pretty dope. So what makes him so special? What makes him do the things that he does? Why does he move the way he does? That's kind of what intrigued me. That's what I want to talk about in this vlog today. And something that I've been thinking about, you know, in terms of Drake is kind of the way that he has accepted himself, the way that he's established himself within the rap industry, within hip-hop, within his community, even though he's so unique as an artist. So what I mean by that is he's like kind of mixed, he's Jewish, he's Canadian, he was an actor, he kind of sang in his music, he was soft, it sounded like he made music for girls, not men. He was too soft and he was too emotional, and yet he became such a huge figure in the industry. How did he do that? Well, and he came from Toronto, he didn't have to move, he did it where he's from. And so like, you know, by all accounts, he has just like changed the game, and he's done it completely different, and he made it look effortless. And so what's so intriguing about him is just like, you know, how did he do that? How did he kind of climb his way to the top? And how did he like make it seem so effortless? You know, so that's kind of what I noticed about him, and what intrigued me, and why I wanted to talk about it. It's because he has a few type of kind of skills and talents that allowed him to get where he was, I feel like. And I think the main thing is that he's like a social chameleon. So like what he can do is he can go into any different you know, field, into any different type of environment, in any social climate, and he can just blend in. He knows how to kind of feel out what's coming next. He knows the trends too. So like he knows that, you know, Jamaican pop, chill wave, all this stuff is coming up, and he can kind of notice it, and he can rise with the wave as it's coming. He's really good at noticing trends, and he's really good at, you know, building up his you know, favor within the people who are starting that trend. So like, you know, he's just a social chameleon. He recognized Bad Bunny, he recognized you know, Fortnite. He recognizes all this stuff that's coming up, and he can kind of blend in with it. And so he's really good in the social game, in the industry, in the hustle. Like he knows how to kind of work in that favor. And he also has a good team. He has 40, he has Future, he has Lil Wayne. So like he surrounds himself with you know, talent. And you know, either hand is the upper hand. He's just really good at it, and like he works, right? He also has an idea about where he wants to take his music. He has mentors. He has a vision. He wanted to add singing into the industry. He innovated. So that's another thing that he does. And what he also does that's also very interesting is he kind of accepts who he is. So he is Jewish, he is mixed, he is he has these conflicts in his identity that seem to push and pull him in different ways, but that doesn't matter to him. Like he says, I am what I am, wig splitter, bar spitter, ain't got no misunderstandings, the time for misunderstandings again. Like he knows who he is and he accepts his nature. That's another thing, right? So like there's this analogy about nature and will and the ego that I've been thinking about, which is in the happiness hypothesis, I believe, which is this model of viewing your nature. So if you can think about your nature as like an elephant and the ego as the rider of the elephant, you can tug on the elephant and you can try to guide it in certain ways, but at the end of the day, you're a rider and an elephant is going to go where it's going to go. So you have this nature, which is the elephant, and it's going to go somewhere, and you can pull on it, your ego. You can try to be like, go this way, and the elephant might listen, may not, but the best thing you can do is you can just try to guide the elephant as much as you can. And so the thing is, you have this nature, and if you accept it for what it is, and if you can guide it, then it'll go in a good direction. So I don't know how I transitioned from talking about Drake to talking about this nature, this elephant and this rider, but I thought it was an interesting analogy, an interesting idea in terms of happiness and nature. But anyways, Jesus, this vlog is getting pretty long, so I'm going to end it right there. There's a lot of stuff that's happening. Tomorrow I'm going to try to attempt a 300-pound squat, so if that goes well, I'll put it up here if I recorded it or not. Pretty sure I got it in the bag. I've been bulking kind of lately, so it's bulking season. Anyways, I'll let you guys know what's up in the next week. It's just been kind of been a whirlwind type of week, so a lot of shit's been going on. A lot of shit's going on next week, so a lot to happen. And I'll update you guys soon. Anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. If you learned anything or entertained this week, drop me a like, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you don't miss next week's video. Leave me a comment. I read every comment. Love to hear what you guys to say. There's a lot that we covered today. Drake, the nature, elephant, the ego, this semester analogy about time, learning in this Boston world. I'm not making any sense right now, but just let me know what you guys have to say, what you guys think. I'd love to hear your feedback. But as always, I love you guys, and I will see you next Thursday. Peace.